Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Bob Mendelsohn, and this is the Bob's Your Uncle podcast. Today we speak with Tony Morgan, a professional actor here in Australia, and also about children leaving home and pickleball. This is going to be a good one. Thanks for joining me for this Bob's Your Uncle podcast, Season 1, Episode 19. Of note, the opinions are strictly my own and those of any of my guests. You can now find us and comment to us wherever you get your podcasts. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple iTunes, the list goes on. We have a lot of topics we discuss here, and even so on the Bob's Your Uncle podcast, you are part of the show. We do want to see and hear you. So send us a message on Facebook or Instagram, video something and send it to us. In the weeks to come, we'll talk about country music, wars, rumors of wars. Let's see where the spirit takes us. Whether you're at home, online, on the road with me in your headset, at the gym, or out for your evening constitutional, wherever you get your podcasts, that's where we will be. Thanks for joining us for these 18 minutes. Amanda McInnes is both my travel agent and the sponsor of this podcast. Amanda, a travel agent, what makes you do this for people?
I think the biggest thing for me is that it is, and it can be very, very rewarding. So it's not really just about booking people from point A to point B, but you form relationships and you become a part of someone's long-term journey. So I've had clients that I've known from them being in university to graduation trips, to trips where they've gotten engaged and their honeymoon and now baby moons. And you really become a part of what happens in their life, which is amazing. And I've had a client who went overseas to pick up his daughter and bring her back to Australia from Africa to emigrate and start a whole new life. So it can be really special being a part of people's lives through travel.
People are always concerned. Can I get a deal? Is there such a thing as a financial travel deal anymore? And how do you recognize it?
With any deal per se, a lot of the time what the airline or the supplier is doing by giving you that deal is ensuring that you're booking early and they're getting an indication of what their occupancy is going to be like. So the further out that you book, usually the pricing is going to be a little bit better. Now, obviously with that comes its own risk, because if you book further out, a lot of unforeseen things can happen in that period of time. But especially domestically in Australia, I think with accommodation as well, again, it's worth having an agent who might have a large amount of contracts per se. So working with an agent like myself under the Flight Centre umbrella, we've got quite a large company globally, which allows the contracts to be negotiated. So you might find secret kind of hidden deals in there if you work with a specific agent as well.
How do people reach you?
So the best way to reach me is via email, amanda.mckinnis@travelpartners.com.au.
But bit.ly/Amanda365. Thanks, Amanda. Glad to have you as my sponsor. On this date in history, 5 July, two events of note. In 1946, the bikini swimsuit for ladies was introduced by French designer Louis Réard at a popular swimming pool in Paris. Also in 1950, just 4 years later, the Knesset, Israel's parliament, passed the Law of Return, which granted Jewish people the freedom to immigrate to Israel from anywhere in the world and receive immediate citizenship. But it proved controversial when the question, who is a Jew, raised other issues, and that's the historical marker of the week. Tony Morgan and I met in 2017 here in Sydney, and each of us was taken by a new sport in Australia named pickleball. Amazing to think that was only 4.5 years ago, Tony. We'll talk about the explosion of that sport here and globally, but first, let's let the listeners learn a bit more about you. You aren't from Australia, are you? Where were you born, and what brought you to Australia?
Okay, yes. So I was born in New Zealand. come across when I was about 6 years old. We actually moved to WA, Perth, initially, because my dad actually worked in the gold mines in Kalgoorlie. And then I found our way back to Sydney, and then most recently, or actually for the last 25 years, I'm based in Newcastle.
No, it's a regional center north of Sydney.
That's right.
You have three amazing children, and now one of them has just left home to move to Victoria. How did that move make you feel, and what lessons have you learned already from that move out?
So Bailey, my second oldest son, he's 19. He's the first to leave the nest. It actually came about pretty quickly. We were down in Wangaratta for a pickleball tournament, actually, and where we were staying, friends of the family had a job going, and Bailey was in this transitional phase of looking for work. He was an apprentice chef, but then now somehow he's moving into the pharmaceutical industry. And so there was just a job opportunity, and it sort of came from nowhere. And just to expand on that, my other son turned 21. So all of our attention was sort of planning this 21st. And Bailey wasn't forgotten about, but because he announced his departure pretty quickly, we didn't have too much time to think about it. So it's only just now that it's hit me that he's actually moved out of home, and I have to walk past the bedroom and see an empty bed, and I think, oh, geez, he's gone. But yeah.
You're feeling a bit of loss.
Yeah. So, it was all very, I didn't have time to think about it. So now it's only sort of just hit me now. Now, actually, Bailey and me never really had phone calls, and I think I've spoken to him 6 times in the last 4 days. It's like, where's this come from?
That's
so
great.
I think he's feeling it as well.
Tony, you've been a professional actor for many years. When did that career begin for you? Do you have any favorite moments? And did you ever meet anyone famous?
Gee whiz, when you call me an actor, I sort of, I suppose I can call myself an actor, but yeah, it's mainly background stuff. I do featured stuff, the occasional commercial and stuff. And I was actually thinking about it today because I had a job in Sydney today, and I've got to go back tomorrow and do the second day. I've actually done about 30 or 40 separate jobs over the last 5 years. So I started 5 years ago, fell into the industry when I took a voluntary redundancy out of a job that I was in for 22 years. So I wanted to get into something that was that I love doing, and that's what I do now. Is I do acting part-time. I'm heavily involved in badminton and pickleball, and I've got a business around that. So I just said to myself that I was going to start doing things that I was passionate about and that I enjoy doing. And the industry, even though I don't do major stuff, like I don't throw myself into the acting world, as in I have done stuff where I get lines and talking and stuff like that. But the industry is so positive that I just enjoy being part of bigger productions, and I have landed the occasional role on a Marvel movie or a bigger movie that's coming up in Sydney this month. I've got about 2 weeks work with. But when you said something about what's my most memorable thing, was when I fell into the industry, I just responded to a Facebook request to be a zombie, and I thought, what am I doing now? Oh yeah, this zombie job is in Melbourne. So I went down to Melbourne and visited my friends, used the opportunity to catch up with some friends. And then when I came back to Sydney, I joined the agency. But my third gig, and this is the most memorable for me, was I actually went to Fiji, and I was in Fiji for 9.5 weeks. And that was really memorable because I got over there and I was a part of the family. Like, you're on set the whole time working an American TV show. But our downtime and being exposed to the Fijian community and their culture. And I remember it was a time of Easter, and this village, I think it was the cleaning lady who attended all our rooms, invited us to, and some of the main actors and the extras. We went to their village for Easter. We went to their church, experienced the ceremony with them, and then we got back to their house, and it was all about food, and all this food was cooked under the ground, and it was just the whole experience was amazing. Yeah, so that's it's more the connections of and who we've met through acting rather than the on-set sort of stuff. But I have met some famous people, I suppose, as well along the lines.
And they've met you, so that's good. Tony, let's talk pickleball. You and I were part of the first executive here in New South Wales and then nationally as well. We helped get the sport launched. You came from a badminton background. What caused you to switch sports?
Well, I haven't switched totally. I'm still involved with badminton. I still coach badminton. I don't play. I play socially badminton, but I don't play competitive badminton. I enjoy the competitiveness of pickleball now more. There was a lady that came to our badminton club and from America, Mary Beth, and she introduced the sport, and it was just so catchy. So had similar aspects to badminton, as it was very social. You could make it as competitive as you wanted it to be, but it was just a heap of fun. So that got me started. And then it was a thing of, well, now I'm in the sport. Who can I ask? Who else can I invite? And who else can I, share this amazing sport with? And that's what I do now in various forms. Still, maybe not so much in the committee capacity, but wherever you go, you have a conversation about the sport, and it's growing. It's a growing sport, as you know.
I love the sport. It grabs you more than you grab it.
It is. It came from nowhere, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. And you helped create tournaments and the calendar of tournaments that are exploding all over Australia. That's got to give you a sense of, there's a Yiddish word called nachas, a great satisfaction inside. Do you feel that when you see the listing of not just Battle of the Border, but the national and state and local tournaments?
Yeah. That's probably what was a bit of a jaw card as well. Not knowing at the time, but along the way, helping shape the sport was a new and exciting challenge when I look back on it now. But it's certainly come along, and you mentioned Battle of the Border, and that's something that me and my friends sort of got started down, and that was just a few weeks ago, and it was great to see that both states get behind that event, and it had doubled in size, and the friendships from all the people when they came together, having dinner after the tournament and stuff like that. So you sit back and you enjoy that sort of aspects more than playing in the tournament itself.
Are you still coaching?
I coach badminton. I do pickleball demonstrations. I have been in a couple of schools lately. And that's part of expanding the sport.
It is. And you're still a retailer?
Yeah, so I have a shop called PB Sports. It's an online shop, but that's just an umbrella for all my activities. So it's for pickleball coaching, badminton coaching, the equipment sales of pickleball. And I was the first in New South Wales. It was to, service the sport that was growing as well. So.
And PB does not stand for pickleball, does it?
No, it started off as a badminton business. So it was, and coaching predominantly was it was a personal best. PB is personal best.
How do people reach you?
pbsports.com.au.
Is there anything I've left out that you'd love to tell the Bob's Your Uncle podcast people?
Things are always changing, but I look back over the last 5 or 6 years since that voluntary redundancy, and if I can get out one message of just don't wait for your moment. Just sort of, if you think you want to get out there and start doing what you're passionate about, then go ahead and do it, because that's where I am now. It's been the best 7 years of my life. Yeah.
We don't get promised tomorrow, so make the best of today. Hey.
That's it. So that's that. If I was to relay anything, that's what it would be.
That's great. Thanks, my friend. I'm honored to have served with you and wish you only God's best tonight and throughout your days. Thanks, Tony.
Yeah, it's great to catch up with you, Bob, and we'll have to do the Super Bowl again sometime. Well, next year.
Go the Chiefs. All right, great. Thanks so much. Every week we read from the #1 bestseller of all time, the best nonfiction book ever, the Bible. Today, a comment from Rabbi Saul to his young charge Timothy about sports in a way. If anyone competes as an athlete, he does not receive the victor's crown unless he competes according to the rules. Do you have a comment or question? Do you agree with us? Hit us up on Bob Mendo at AOL.com or on Twitter or Instagram on Bob's Your Uncle PC. This week, another good review. Anonymous wrote this to my email. Thanks, Uncle Bob. I love your show. There you go. Send us your comment and sign it this week. We'll read it as soon as possible. Don't forget to post a review on iTunes or Spotify, wherever you're listening, and share our podcast with your mates, your friends, your enemies, anyone, everyone. Thanks for helping us get known out there. Also, please follow or subscribe to the podcast. We can use all the good speak we can get. And your podcast app should notify you of the next episode. Don't forget to book all your travel needs with Amanda McInnes at travelpartners.com.au. Next week, I'm going to deal with war again, as the subject of Ukraine and hundreds of millions of dollars are being spent by Western nations to stop Mr. Putin. Will that work? What's the end game anyway? Until then, from me, Bob Mendelsohn, when things seem bleak or uncertain, look up to God. He's in his heaven, and Bob's your uncle. Shalom from Sydney.